Alright, welcome back to my channel, Greg Allen F1. Grand Prix in Germany just ending. Lewis Hamilton has tied the record with Michael Schumacher at 91 wins. So that'll probably be the huge discussion coming out of this Grand Prix. We also get Daniel Ricciardo getting his first podium since Monaco 2018, which also means that a certain tattoo bet is going to have to be fulfilled. So I'm pretty excited about that. How did we get there? Let's go over the 2020 Eifel Grand Prix in Germany. So, race starts off with a pretty good battle between the two Mercedes headed into the first corner. Hamilton forces Bottas wide. Bottas does a pretty good job of being able to hold off. Hamilton holds on to that lead in the first lap. Albon has a lockup, and I put that up on the board because that's going to start a day full of issues for Alex Albon. Romain Grosjean says gravel hits his finger and isn't sure if it's broken, and we'd be following that story the rest of the day. Grosjean winds up having a pretty good day, though, in the end. He finishes in the points for the first time this season. In lap 8, Alex Albon has to box for medium tires. At first we thought it was because of a puncture, but it turns out that it was a flat spot that he put on his tire in that very first lap. And again, we're going to see on this board over and over again Alex Albon having some issues in this race. Lap 9, Daniel Ricciardo overtakes Leclerc for 4th place, and that would kind of set up the story of Daniel Ricciardo chasing down his first podium in 2 seasons and getting Renault into a podium position. Pretty awesome stuff there. Lap 11, Sebastian Vettel slides off the racetrack, same time his teammate is pitting, so we're starting to see that there was some suspicion that maybe rain was hitting the track. Not really what winds up happening there. Vettel kind of lost control in that corner. Lap 13, Lewis Hamilton overtakes Valtteri Bottas for the lead after Bottas has a lockup. And pretty much right after that, Bottas winds up coming into box. And we have some issues with Bottas there, but pretty rare to actually see one of the Mercedes overtake the other one in the middle of the race. Lap 14, we thought George Russell had a spin. What actually happened is Kimi Räikkönen and George Russell get together. Russell actually winds up getting up on 2 wheels there. Räikkönen ran right into him. As a result, Russell has to retire. His suspension and rear tire have a puncture, and the suspension is a complete mess at this point. Kimi Räikkönen gets a 10-second penalty for the contact there. It was definitely his fault, unfortunately, and just winds up being a tough day for George Russell. Because of it, lap 16, a virtual safety car happens. On lap 17, Albon and Kvyat have a collision together. They wind up colliding, going into one of the corners. Or coming out of one of the corners, I should say. Albon winds up taking out Kvyat's front wing. Alex Albon gets a 5-second penalty for that. And this is going to set up kind of some major issues for Alex Albon. Again, he's on this board for all the wrong reasons. It's why he's the thumbnail for this YouTube video. Lap 18, though, Valtteri Bottas has to retire due to a power unit. He loses power in the middle of that race. This blows the championship competition pretty much out of the water. Lewis Hamilton going on to win the race and tying that record. Meanwhile, his teammate has a very unfortunate race altogether. That's going to kill him on points. His first DNF of the season. Terrible timing for it to come. And by lap 19, he's out of the Grand Prix. On lap 23, we have another retirement. Esteban Ocon, unfortunately, also has a retirement. Albon and Gasly wind up racing hard during this. And Albon comes on the radio and says, "He races me so hard in frustration." And that's kind of an interesting thing because on lap 25, just about a lap and a half after that, Red Bull decides to retire Alex Albon. We later hear that it's a power unit issue for Albon, but the commentators in the Grand Prix seem to suggest that maybe there's something else going on there. Albon was struggling all day, he was complaining all day, had a 5-second penalty, and was complaining about racing Gasly hard, or being raced by Gasly hard, and they retire him right after that, and it seemed a little interesting because they didn't talk about their power unit or any kind of indication that Albon was having any power struggles there, and they retire him, so it'll be kind of interesting to see what's going on there, especially when we look further down this board and see what Pierre Gasly was able to do. Landon Norris also has some power issues. This continues a theme throughout the day, a lot of cars having power issues. He does a pretty good job holding on to that race car with the power issues, but ultimately it does finally catch up to him. He winds up retiring on lap 44. A miserable couple weeks for Landon Norris and McLaren. Also notable that Racing Point is going to pass McLaren in the constructor standings now after fantastic performance from Checo and a really good performance by Nico Hülkenberg. Pretty interesting that Racing Point has a killer day with 2 drivers that will not be on their team next year. Just think about that. Nico Hülkenberg is looking for a ride, but he's not one of their primary drivers, and Checo won't be in that team right now, and those two drivers just delivered them a fantastic day. Full safety car happens because of Landon Norris, and on lap 45, that allows Daniel Ricciardo to pit, and I think that if it was not for that full safety car, Checo would have been on the podium today. But that bails out Daniel Ricciardo. He's able to hold off Perez to get his first podium since 2018. I've got Hulkenberg here. I should be hashtag Hulkenberg. Nico Hulkenberg in the points, has a fantastic race. Pierre Gasly races up from P12 to P6. Another stellar performance for him in the AlphaTauri. And on a day that Alex Albon struggles all day long, the questions are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger about why is he not in that second Red Bull seat. And of course, Lewis Hamilton wins and ties Michael Schumacher, 91 wins. No doubt, probably the next 2 Grand Prix that Hamilton is going to break that record. He's going to hold all the records. Only about 50 miles away from where Schumacher lives that he does that. Mick Schumacher on site to watch it happen. And, love him, hate him, or indifferent, Lewis Hamilton is the man. So that's going to do it for our final Grand Prix in Germany in 2020 this year. Pretty, good race with some of the strategies. The front was never really in question once Hamilton overtook Valtteri Bottas there. So overall, pretty solid day. It's fun just having the cars back. 2 weeks doesn't do it for me. I really love when they have these Grand Prix stacked up. But there you have it. Let me know what you think of this race if you come across this video. And as always, thank you for watching, and please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. See you in the next video.